Hey there, welcome to the Low Content Publishing for Beginners video series. My name is Rachel Harrison-Sund. Today I'm going to be spending a little bit of time talking about systems. So systems, I think, are something that are really going to help you to achieve the success that you want to achieve with your self-publishing business. I know for me, if I didn't have a system in place, it would be pure chaos. And I really don't think that I would have achieved the level of success that I achieved with low content publishing. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what my systems look like and how you can adapt them for yourself. So the first thing to do is to start with a goal. So there are lots of different ways to set goals, and you can do that however you want to. But for me, the main components of the goal are it needs to be specific and there needs to be a deadline attached to it. So this is an exact example of one of my goals that I had I'd set for myself back in 2017 when I first started out doing the low content publishing. And by the way, this is something that I wrote out every single morning in my journal before I started work. And that just really helped to get me in the right frame of mind and helped me to always have in the back of my mind what my goal was to help keep me motivated. So every morning I would write down, and also I would do this in the present tense. So it wasn't some future fantasy. It was as if it was happening right now. So I would write down, I am earning $5,000 a month by September by publishing 50 low content books per month. And that broke down to 12 a week or whatever it was. So when I wrote that down every single morning, I knew exactly what I was working toward, which was the 50 books a month. And I knew why I was working toward it, which was because I want to be earning $5,000 a month by September. And this is what I think it's going to take for me to get there. Now, you may not know exactly what the exact amount of books are that you're going to need to produce to generate a certain amount of income. And that will come over time. As you start making some earnings, you can kind of say, I've got $200 a month coming in from 20 books. So, that means I'll need to be publishing 200 to make 2,000 or whatever it is. It might take a little bit of time to kind of be able to work out actual numbers like that. So you might have to start with something a little bit smaller and less number dependent, but the main thing is to just come up with a goal, have that goal in the back of your mind all the time. I really do recommend writing it down every single day just to keep yourself in that frame of mind and motivated. The other thing is always remember your why. So on days that you're feeling unmotivated, it's a lot easier to regain that motivation if you know why you're doing something. For me, it was, when I very first started publishing, it was, I got to quit my job. I do not want to be working for someone else anymore. That was my why, and on days when I felt unmotivated to do what I needed to do, I just needed to bring that up in my mind, and that was enough to keep me going. So you've got to have a why. So once you've set those goals and you're actually in the process of publishing, I really recommend batching your tasks. So this is, breaking down the process into its smallest parts and then batching similar tasks. So, one thing might be niche research, another one might be creating interiors, then you're creating covers, then you're publishing. So those are all separate tasks. So rather than go through that whole string of tasks for one book and then go through the whole string of tasks again for a second book, I would do that in batches. So for example, here's what a weekly schedule might look like. So Monday, you might be doing niche research and coming up with as many ideas as you can. Tuesday, you might be validating those ideas and then choosing one. Wednesday, you might take that one idea that you validated and now you might be customizing or creating interior templates around that one idea. And then Thursday, you might be creating maybe 10 or whatever, 5 or 10 or more covers for that particular idea. So you're doing all the covers at once. And then Friday, you've now got whatever it is, 3, 5, 10 different books, and you're going to publish them all at once. So that might be an example of a weekly schedule. So maybe you've got a little bit less time and you're not able to work on this project every single day of the week. So maybe you look at it from a monthly perspective rather than a weekly one. So maybe in week 1, that's your niche research and idea validation week. So at the end of week 1, you've gone through a bunch of ideas, you've validated them, and then at the end of the week, you've got one idea that you would like to pursue. So then in week 2, you work on creating or customizing interiors for that idea. And that might only be one interior that then you can reuse multiple times. Or you might have to create a couple of different interiors, whatever it is. And then, in week 3, you're making however many covers. If you want to publish 5 books or 10 books, that's how many covers you can be making that week. It doesn't have to be 5 or 10. It could be 1 or 2 as well. It's whatever you have time for. And then week 4, you're publishing that whole batch. So that might be a more realistic schedule for you. It doesn't really matter as long as it is a schedule and a system that you can stick to and that fits into your schedule and works for you. That is fine. Some of us have 20 hours a week. Some of us have 5. That's totally fine. The main important thing, though, that I want to really emphasize is actually schedule this time into your calendar. You've got to treat it like real work. This is a real business, so you really do have to treat it like one. If you don't schedule that time in, you are far more likely to just have moments when you're thinking like, I've just worked a full day. It's 8 o'clock at night, I just want to relax. Do I really want to do this? But if you've got it scheduled in your calendar, this is a priority for you. Keep your why in the back of your mind. You will be much more motivated and much more likely to actually follow through. And then, of course, reach the goal that you set in the first place. So the third thing is keeping organized. So you're going to have tons and tons of folders, and it's just so much more helpful when they're all organized nicely. So you can organize them in different ways. You can either organize your files by niche. So when I first started out, I just had, I had line journals in one file, I had planners in another file, guest books in another file, and so on. But now I'm focusing more on different brands. So I might have my one brand with all of the different types of books in that one folder, and then I have another brand name and all of those related books in another folder, and so on. Whichever way you want to do it is totally fine, as long as you know where things are and you can easily access them. And then within those files, so for each book has its own file within the parent file, and then within that I will have my working files. So if I'm working in InDesign, that will be in a separate folder. I'll have my metadata, all of the data that I'm going to actually plug into KDP when I'm publishing. That will be on a Google Doc so that that's easily accessible. And then I've got a folder that has my actual published covers and interior file. So it'll be one book, and within that book folder, I'll have the working files, the actual published files, and the metadata, and any related artwork or stock images that I've used. So that just, everything that's related to that one book is just in that one central place where it's easy for me to access if I need to. The other folder I have is, I've just titled it admin. You can do whatever you want with that, but this is where I keep stock images, which I keep pretty organized. I've got free images from free sites in folders named after each website that I've got them from, and then I've got my paid images, which I mostly get from deposit photos, and then within the deposit photos folder, I've got them kind of organized by theme. So birds, patterned backgrounds, whatever. They're all just kind of named easily because when you download the files, they all have a number. So that makes it almost impossible. When you get to my stage where I've got hundreds of stock photos, it's totally impossible to know what is where unless I actually rename the folder that it came in to what it is and then group all of those folders together. So that just streamlines things and makes it a lot more easy for me to access next time I want to gain access to any of those images. And then finally, you're going to want a folder for reports and accounting. So I've got an accounting folder where I keep all of any of my related expenses I keep in there. I also have reports that I download from KDP. So my royalty reports, I download those every month, and also the payment reports as well. And I keep those organized by month because come accounting time, at tax time, it just makes it so much easier to have everything already where it needs to be, and I'm not scrambling around, going through multiple folders or getting onto KDP and downloading things for the entire year. So I would recommend that you do that as well, just to stay organized. And then the final point I would like to make is stay on top of your bookkeeping. I know I've mentioned that before, but it just makes it so much more hassle-free when you've just been keeping up with it all year. So like I said, I download all of my reports at the end of the month, both the royalty reports and the payment reports, and you'll find that in the reports section of your dashboard. And then with regards to your bookkeeping, if you want to do it yourself on a spreadsheet, fine, just be meticulous with it. Personally, I use QuickBooks, and I have a bookkeeper kind of do everything for me. I just pop my head in and take a look so I can have tabs on it myself. But like I've mentioned before, I hate anything to do with bookkeeping, so I just have someone else do it. And yeah, don't leave it till the end of the year. And then again, have a separate bank account. You don't want to have your royalty payments coming into your personal account because you're getting multiple deposits per month depending on the different stores. So you'll get a deposit from .com, one from .ca, one from .co.uk, all the different stores that you've made sales in. So if you've got like 5 or 6 of those coming in and they're just interspersed with all your personal transactions, that's just going to be a mess. So keep it separate. So the final thing to keep in mind with regards to bookkeeping is you want to set aside some of your earnings for taxes. So for me, because I live in Canada and US have a tax treaty, which means that KDP doesn't withhold any federal taxes because it assumes that I'm going to be paying them in Canada, which I do. So when I receive royalty payments, there's been nothing withheld. I'm just getting the full lump. So if you're like me in that situation and you're living in a country where your country has a tax treaty with the US, just keep that in mind. You're going to have to withhold some of that money for yourself and put it aside. So you really don't want to be spending all of it, either putting it back into your business or spending it on yourself or whatever. Go online, find a tax calculator, and just try and work out what tax bracket you might be in, and then just put that aside and a little bit more and just have it there. So when it's time to do your taxes, you don't want to get a nasty surprise and realize that you owe several $1,000s, but you no longer have that in the bank. So definitely recommend doing that just for your own peace of mind. So there you have it. Those are my recommendations for systems that you can use to keep yourself organized and motivated and on the fast track to your success. So I hope you found that helpful. And if you want more of these tips, be sure to subscribe to my channel, which you can do right there down below by pressing that red button. And for more low content tips, make sure to check out my blog over at rachelharrisonson.com. And if you want the complete walkthrough of the entire publishing process, from idea generation all the way to hitting that publish button for the first time, then you can download my 3 steps to publishing your first low content book in less than a day. And I will leave that link in the description below as well. Thanks for watching.